Right. I've already talked about the need for you to explore, to keep an open mind when you want to attract buyers in terms of the different ways in which you can make money. So the last episode I talked about, that's the tip number 5. Right. I talked about the exploring the opportunities to use barter exchange to get paid. But you see, at the end of the day, when you want to make sales, there will always be the need to actually take action, and sometimes taking action, because for instance, you talk, those who are the primary target audience for this series are actually farm business owners. So a lot of you actually have physical products you want to sell. So you're not really like me, even though, like I've said repeatedly, I'm trying to encourage many of you to also try to monetize your expertise using what I call digital cash flow generation assets. So I'm helping some of you to set up online, wherein you can actually sell other things aside from your farm products, so on digital stuff, information and all of that, even your services as consultants and things like that. There's so many opportunities you can explore, so that even when you don't have farm products ready for sale, you can still generate income. It's amazing that a lot of farm business owners are not thinking along these lines, but that will come in a separate recording. All right, so what I'm talking about right now, I'm trying to say that yes, you've gotten yourself prepared, you have an open mind and all that, but ultimately, to make sales as a farm business owner, even though you can use the web to attract potential buyers and they can come to you from different parts of the country or the world, the truth of the matter remains that you will still need at some point to physically move around and interact with people who potentially fit your target audience profile, and also to explore the immediate and remote opportunities for sales. So for instance, you may want to appear at trade fairs. A lot of farm business owners are doing that now. All kinds of places where people do displays or have engagements or events. So you could talk to the organizers of those events and see whether or not they'll be interested in having you provide some of your products there. You don't discover such opportunities by staying in your farm. You need to go out. So this is a key aspect of your marketing that you need to embrace. Now, some people I have found are very uncomfortable with going out to do their own marketing. Whether it's called pavement pounding, where you move door to door, by yourself, or whether it's the one where you actually go around with a team of people who do that for you, or where you maybe go to media houses, and if you feel you have the money, I don't recommend that. But all sorts of strategies can be adopted in terms of going out to create awareness about your brand. All right, especially when you're selling stuff that's perishable, like farm products. And I'm talking about, you are not subsistence farmers. The farms business owners I'm talking about, who are my audience, are not subsistence farmers. So you're not the ones that are using hoes and cutlasses. You are more of the ones that you're operating at a scale where you need some reasonable volume of order for you to keep the business going. So you're not small operations. All right, so the thing is, how do you then reach out to all these other brick and mortar businesses that might need your help? For instance, you have catering establishments that buy eggs on a regular basis. How do you connect with them? What about people that have hotels, restaurants and bars? They need regular supply of some things like beef, meat, chicken, even pork. It depends on what you sell. It depends on what kind of products even vegetables. So many different kinds of farm products are required by most of these organizations, and some of them use middlemen who deal with you farmers and then come to them. What if you were begin to go out by yourself to connect with these different end users of your products? And what if you were also able to sit down and come up with a way to process your own farm products into a form that will make them more readily appealing to those kinds of people? For instance, you have your broilers or your layers, your old layers, whatever, and you decide to slaughter them and put them in a cold room or in a set of freezers, so that when you are ready, you can actually just go and make visits to all these kinds of end users and tell them that you have these things already dressed, with all the cleaning or done and all that, just ready for sale. That will make your offer more attractive than if you were to go to a hotel owner and tell him, oh, I have maybe 1,000 broilers or cockerels ready for sale that you can slaughter, and then the person will be thinking, who's going to pay for all that? Who's going to do all that messy stuff? So sometimes you got to take the initiative and think of a way you can make your offer more compelling. If you do a little bit extra work, you can get that to happen. Now, however, the most important reason why I'm doing this recording, this episode, is to explain to you, using my own example of a true story, why it is so important to be willing to go out, to take risks, to explore opportunities, and to be relentless in doing so. All right, so I want to share this story with you. It's not a story. I mean, I don't run a farm. I've never run a farm in the formal sense of the word. However, business is business. Looking for buyers is the same thing. It's the mentality you have, and it's your willingness to do the work. Because sometimes you don't just, it's not sometimes, even every time when you want to do business, you've got to have a can-do mental attitude. You've got to believe in yourself, and that belief is not just by what you say, it's also by what you're willing to do. And that's why I said it has to do with your risk-taking ability, your willingness to go the extra mile and even go beyond what you think is the safe limit. So the story I'm about to tell you kind of illustrates that, and shows how I got the payoff by taking that risk and by willing to go that extra mile. So what happened was, this was in if I recall correctly, this was in 2003 or 2004. It was in my first few years as a startup entrepreneur, and I had been looking for opportunities to make sales as a public speaker. I was offering all this training on self-development and all of that. That was how I came into the market. I had no idea that it was not a marketplace that was very friendly to merit-based performance, and that many times, especially when you are delivering intangibles like speaking services, it can become rather arbitrary, but that's the subject for another recording. So anyway, I had been getting invitations. I had spoken at the University of Lagos to students there. I'd been invited to speak at I think a place like Corona School, some other places. Anyway, so I decided to, I was just driving all over the place. This was the year when I was just driving. I was still learning, and you can imagine there's no other way to learn than to go out. I mean, what's the best way to teach someone to swim? Throw him in the pool. So I just had to jump in and do it. And so I got to a school in Victoria Island. If I recall correctly, the name was, or let me just leave the name. It's an international school, quite popular on Victoria Island. So I approached them and told them about the training I had done in this other big group of schools, and told them that I had, a message that I believed would help them to improve the performance of their teachers. So it's the same way you as a farm business owner can approach the owner of a hotel business, a restaurant business, a catering outfit, even an organization that's into buying and selling of processed farm goods or farm goods that they process. You can go and make a case for your brand, make an offer. You would have sat down in your home or in your office and done the thinking. What am I going to say to these people that will make them think I'm different from any other person that they've heard coming to offer the same thing or anything resembling it? What is it I'm going to say, or how can I say it in a way that will make them think, let's give this guy a chance? That's the way you've got to approach this thing. Before you leave home, you would have done your thinking. You've come up with your elevator speech. That's like something you say in the first 5 to 10 seconds, typically, to grab the attention of the person, making the person, at least, even if the person is in a hurry to leave or going out or busy, to give you an appointment to then come for a formal meeting where he or she will be willing to listen to you patiently. Up to about 5 minutes. I've successfully done that in places where I was told by the employees there it was not possible, and I'll tell them, you know what, I want to see your boss, and I tell you, the minute he hears what I have to say, he's going to give me an appointment. And they were always shocked to see that, like, more than 90% of the time I was right. So anyway, that was how I approached the principal of this institution. I basically requested to see the principal. I insisted I would speak to nobody else, and I told them, I said, by the time I tell her, because I already checked and I knew she was a woman, so I done my research, which is what you should do as well. You don't just go blind into a place. I don't care if they call it cold calling. You've got to do your background research. It's very easy. Talk to some of the staff, even some of the visitors. Get information from them about who runs the place. That's who calls the shots. Who is the person that can sign the check? Who is the person that's the one in charge? You find out what the person's name is, what the person's job title is, where the person normally can be found on the premises, what time the person closes, what time the person resumes, who are those that can get you direct access to the person. You do all your research work. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You get all that information, because by the time you're communicating with the person and you are able to converse in a manner that shows that you are quite familiar with everything regarding his or her itinerary or operations, that will even make you a more, you see, to compel him or her to listen even more to you, because it will be clear to the person that you weren't joking around, that you've done your homework. That impresses people, because that means that you're a thorough person. All right, so I did all of that, and that's why when I spoke with this lady, she was just, how do I put it now, literally captivated by what I said, because I had mentioned the fact that I had been there before, and that I knew blah blah blah. I think they kind of a company policies, stuff like that, and there are some events they were doing. I think they had just finished it, which was kind of on the same theme as what I had prepared as a message. And so when I gave her my letter and all of that, she saw it and then said, okay, I think this is very consistent with what we're trying to do. Okay, what we want to do, we are having an event coming up on so and so date. I think I would like you to come and speak to my teachers for 1 hour. Right, so I wasn't speaking to students. I didn't have any message for students. I was talking to the teachers and to the administrators of schools, or even of institutions generally where you had paid employees. So she gave me the appointment and I came. And interestingly, when I arrived, I was shocked to find out that they were actually expecting me and looking forward to the event. One of the things I had done was the material I had brought also mentioned the places I had been. Again, I'm going to say this to you. You don't go blind. You don't go without preparation. You must bring information that you know will make them look forward to engaging with you further. So even if you made a sale somewhere else, mention that you made a sale somewhere else. Describe the sale you made in terms of what exactly you did for those people, so that it becomes clear to them that the person coming to them already has added value to some other people who found it worthwhile. They will be thinking, okay, so we're not alone. Then even if you've not made sales to anybody, because let's be clear, you can't, if you're just starting, you can't have any record of sales. Even then, you can make a promise that you know you can deliver on, and you can deliver to them. So you mention what it is you know you can do for them. If they choose to sign you up, that will make it even more attractive for them to say yes. All right, you put that in whatever stuff you're going to hand over to them when you have that first contact, when you have that first meeting, and emphasize it. All right, so that's what I did. And like I said, when I arrived, it was clear there was expectation, and when I gave my talk, it was a great outing. All right, when I'd finished my talk, teachers were there. They were asking me, they wanted copies of my handouts. There was some other stuff I told them I had in written form. They wanted copies of that. The speech I gave, they wanted a copy of that. And I had already said to them that they would have to pay for that, and they told me there would be no problem. So what then happened was I was given a date, all right, to bring all those things back, and that I would get paid on that date. I think the principal, I recall now, she said they would call me to let me know when the payment was ready, so that when I would then bring the stuff, because I told them I couldn't do it if I wasn't sure I was going to get paid immediately. And they said that was no problem, that I should go ahead and prepare the stuff. Once they were ready, they would call me that the payment was ready, and I would come and pick them up. So I went back home. It was a good outing, and then I continued my marketing and all that. About 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from them. They're saying that my check wasn't even a check, that payment was ready. It wasn't even a check. I was actually going to be giving cash, and I can't remember the amount. It wasn't big money, but it wasn't small either. And bros, at that time, things were not level, so I needed every cover I could get. So when I got the phone call, I was excited, but there was a problem. This happened at a time when the entire country was once again under the what do you call it now? A week before, I had been on the road. But that week when they called me, every place was shut down. Fuel scarcity had literally crippled the entire country. It was really bad in 2000. I think it was 2003, 2004. As you know, if you're in Nigeria, you know that this thing used to go and come. We haven't had it recently, but it was always like that back then. There was always the intermittent occurrence of fuel scarcity. So it was happening once again, and it was really bad. We were living then in the family house at Bagada, and there was a petrol station in Bagada Phase 2, just on the outside, just outside the Bagada Phase 2. And I had looked for fuel all over the place. I couldn't get, because they told me to come and pick up the. So it wasn't that people weren't going to work. It was just that you needed to pay through your nose to get petrol to buy fuel into your car. And I just made up my mind, not having so much money, I couldn't go out, so I just sat at home. So when this call came, it was like a God-sent call, and I jumped into the car, drove down all over the place looking for petrol. There was no petrol on all the other stations until I got to that Bagada Phase 2 petrol station. I think it's called, if I recall it, I think it's Oando, can't remember. So I got there, and I found that there was massive queues, like what you're seeing in the video in the background now. And the massive queues had people going in and coming out from amongst them, who were carrying kegs but were not queuing up. They were the miscreants, the area boys, what we call them in Lagos, Nigeria. And they have this ability, I don't know, they have some arrangement that enables them to get petrol when there's fuel scarcity from some people that they probably bribe. Anyway, they always seem to have petrol, and they go to the side of the road and sell it at like 10 times the price, because everybody's desperate for it, and if anybody who has it becomes an automatic man in demand. So they came out to the road and were selling it. So I knew I needed this money. It was a Friday. I knew if I allowed that day to go into the weekend, I'll probably not have any money at all. So I needed to get down to Victoria Land and get that money that I was told to come and pick up. I had all the photocopies done of all the materials I was going to give to them. So I decided to, what I'm about to tell you now, you won't believe it. Most people don't believe it, but it happened. That's why I talked about your risk-taking proclivity, your willingness to go the extra mile, your relentlessness, your willingness, your refusal to recognize failure. Everything I've said to you now, these words these phrases I used, are the keys to defeating adversity when it happens. Because believe me, in the business of marketing and selling, adversity is something you're going to have to contend with. Because I'm describing everything to you in this series does not mean everything will just be going like clockwork because you're following all the guidelines. It doesn't matter where you went to learn your marketing and selling. Sometimes you're just going to have difficulty, and the difficulty will be kind of repeating itself all the time. And you will have to kind of develop the thick skin to deal with it, develop the mental attitude to keep going no matter what, no matter how it looks, no matter how hopeless it looks. It's very important to understand that this aspect of your marketing and selling is going to be a reality you'll have to face periodically, and you need to embrace it and understand that it's not going to be because one enemy somewhere is attacking you. It's going to be because you need to learn how to think to solve problems. Because when this adversity comes, it's going to be your ability to sit down and think, what do I do? That will be the key to your success. It's not going to be, I have no issues with you if you decide to go and start praying and fasting. No problem. Just make sure you have enough food in your tummy to enable you keep going. But I assure you, your ability to think of an alternative to getting what you want or getting where you want to go is going to be crucial to your ability to succeed in sales and marketing. If you don't develop that ability, that willingness to think critically, it's called critical thinking, creatively, creative thinking. If you are not willing to do that and then do it with what we call relentless persistence, man, you are not going to be able to succeed in sales and marketing. Go and ask anybody that's successful in sales and marketing. That's the key. So the breakthroughs don't come because you just jumped up and started doing it. The breakthroughs come because you refuse to stop. Somebody gave a description of the selling process as being, marketing and selling process anyway, as being a process of throwing mud at a barn wall, the wall of a just little building, and after some time, some of it begins to stick. That's what happens. You throw it, it falls off, but after some time, it begins to stick. That's the way it is. You've got to keep at it. All right. So I deliberately gave you that background because I wanted you to understand. the reason why I was able to do what I'm about to describe now with the area boy is because I had that mentality ingrained in me because of my experiences. I knew it was the only way to go. So I needed petrol. What was I to do? It was clear just from the crowds at the petrol dispensers there. There was no way I was going to get through. If I was going to queue with those people, I would not get fuel until they closed. So I knew that was not an option to pursue. And there was nobody there that was going to give me petrol from his or her car. Because the reason why they were all there was because they didn't have petrol. Therefore, the only people I had any hope of getting petrol from were the area boys. Now, if you know anything about area boys, if you know anything about them, you know that the last thing you can expect from area boy is sympathy or empathy or politeness or respect or consideration. The only thing they understand, the only language they speak is money. You give them money, they can do literally anything for you. They are rude, they are lousy, they are noisy, and they are very aggressive. So most people just don't like to interact with them. However, they are still human beings. And that was what I told myself. Because like I told you, when you got to adversity to a point, it forces you to be humble. You are forced to look at your circumstances and get real with yourself. And that's what had happened to me. So I knew that I had to find a way to communicate with these guys because they were my only hope. And believe me, what I was even thinking of doing with them, it was the most outrageous thing. Even the normal person who's not an area boy would not, for the most part, be expected to accept it. But I went up to them and I just called on one of them and said, hey, listen, how much is this keg of petrol? And he told me at that time, I think 1 liter was about, this was 2003, 2004, when we were still selling, we were buying fuel for, I think something under 100 naira now. I can't remember now. It's been a long time since I did all those things. But I told him, I asked him, and he told me it was about 500 naira. This was a 5 liter keg. So, yeah. So, anyway, at 500 or 800, I can't really remember, to be honest with you. But it was like almost like 5 times normal price. It wasn't up to 10 times, 5 times the normal price, if not more. So when he told me the price, I explained what I was trying to do to him. I told him I wanted to get to VI, blah, blah, blah. I told him the whole story. Then I told him I didn't have any money, but that I was going to get money where it was I wanted to drive down to on Victoria Island. And that Friday being Friday, if I allowed the day to end and they closed in the office, I would not be able to get that money, and it would mean that I wouldn't have cash at all. Then I told him, of course, that I needed the first petrol he had in his hands to get me down there and back, at least down there, so I could get the money, and that if I got the money, I would come back and give him his money. I'm sure you can just listen to me as I've said it just now. I'm sure even you would have been smiling or laughing at this point. How could I ever expect that an area boy would listen to such thing, such potentially what you call rubbish, and then see it as anything other than that? But believe me, when I said it, rightly so, the guy said, he spoke in Yoruba language and said, look at the so he was basically telling me, what's wrong with this elder? How can he be telling me this as if I'm a little child? I wasn't born yesterday. How can you expect me to believe this kind of bullshit you are saying to me? You're going to take petrol without paying, and then you come back and give me the money in Lagos? I mean, come on, man. I'm supposed to be, I'm from the streets, So he was talking to me that way, and I said, well, I'm telling you the truth. I don't know how else I can say it. I just want you to understand that this is serious. I'm really pressed. There's no time. At that time, it wasn't noon yet. It was still in the morning. I was telling him, look, I'll get down there and I'll be back before you know it. Blah, blah, blah. There's no more traffic because there aren't many cars on the road. And the guy said, forget it. Sorry, in English. In English, what he was saying, forget it, blah, blah, blah. He was actually speaking Yoruba and loudly too. So he started talking with the dismissive wave of his hand, and his colleagues came and said, what's the problem? And then he told them, look what this Egmont is saying, blah, 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 blah. And I said, wow. You don't have to get so insulting. Like he said, oh, forget it, you think I'm stupid? So as he was talking, one of them much bigger than the others just came around and said, what's the problem? And I said, he turned to me and said, what's the issue? But the other one said, is this Egmont? Look at what he's trying to do. He thinks he's clever, blah, blah, blah. I don't have time for him. He said, hold on, shut up. Let me listen to him. He turned to me and said, bros, what's the problem? Can you tell me what it is you want? And I repeated myself. He looked at me for a few seconds and said, just turned to the other guys and said, I think this, in Yoruba he said, I think this this big brother, I think he's serious, he's sincere. I think he'll bring the money when he gets it. Give him the petrol. And the other one said, shouting, are you serious? You want us to just throw? Do you know how much work we did to get this petrol? The guy said, give him the keg. I said, wow. I just told him, thanks a lot. I appreciate it so much. He said, no problem. He said, when you come, just call me. My name is, he told me his name, blah, blah, blah. I took his phone number. And so I put the petrol in the car and quickly got into it. I was ready to go. So I just, from there, if you know the Bagada Phase 2 and you know that it links directly to the Third Mainland Bridge, you can link directly to it and get down straight to VI. So I just drove down, and thankfully I was dealing with a group of people that also had integrity. When I got to the school, they were there, they were at work, and they were expecting me. So as soon as I arrived, they were excited. I got all the stuff I made copies of for them based on the individuals that placed orders on that day. I handed it all over. They checked everything. They handed me the cash. It was cash, so I didn't have to deal with any bank. That was, this was way back. So, and what I was talking about, it wasn't big money. I think it was around about, I think it was even under 10,000. It wasn't big money at that time. I was really, oh my God, things were not. It was tough. I've come a long way now. Anyway, so I got the money. It was like $1 million in my hand on that day. And then I went straight to the petrol station over there. I think I bought 1,000 naira petrol. No, I couldn't buy petrol. I couldn't buy. There was no fuel in many, and there were queues everywhere. So I couldn't even buy petrol. I simply drove back down. And as soon as I arrived, I went and turned and parked, and then began to look for the area boys there. This was about, I would say, 3 hours later. And at that time, they had sold literally everything they had. I think they were just chatting, sitting on the edge of the wall near the petrol station. I don't think they were waiting for me. I don't even think they believed I was going to come back. To be honest with you, I think, or maybe they had made so much sale that they had gotten so relaxed. But they weren't like people that were waiting for anybody. And they just turned and saw me as soon as I called out to them and asked where their big brother was, the big boss. And he called to him. He was with the vulcanizer. He came, he started, Egmon, you are wonderful, So I told them you were going to come back, and they were so excited, and I gave them some extra money, and I appreciated them. I told them thank you, and it was a great thing. We became friendly. I didn't see them after that, even though we had our phone numbers. I never really ran into them again after that. But the point I want to make is this: there is a way you apply yourself. I talked about the spirituality in marketing. There's a spiritual dimension to marketing and selling. People don't know. We are spiritual beings. However, it's not religion I'm talking about. It's spirituality. We are all spirits. And there's an aspect of your psyche that makes you connect with other human beings. Alright? In a way that makes them to help you achieve things you want or that you need at any point in time, depending on how you go about it. I cannot say more than that in this particular recording to avoid making it too long, but I've talked about it in some. You can just search in this series, the FGB series. All right, I talk about the spirituality that's relevant to the practice of marketing and selling. It's very important to understand that aspect works. Now, whether you are religious, whatever way you may be religious, it doesn't matter. Just understand that if you are pure in spirit, if your thoughts are sincere, if your intentions are honorable, there are universal forces, all right, that will lead you to meet people that will open the doors of opportunities for you and let you win. You've got to stay pure in your thoughts, and you've got to stay persistent in your attitude, mentally and otherwise, if you want to reap this reward. Because if you are pure in your thoughts and the forces are making the necessary arrangements for you and bringing the right people to connect with you, even through phone calls, before you even meet with other people physically, that will open even more doors for you. If you are doing all of that, but you are not willing to act with persistence, you will miss the opportunity. Think about it. If I sat at home wishing and wishing and wishing, and all the forces were being channeled in my direction, but I did not take action by going out with faith to look for people that would give me what I needed, imagine what would have happened. I wouldn't have made that sale. Because who would have, you think if I told anybody I was going to go and approach area boys to give me petrol. You think anybody would have told me, yes, go ahead and do it? They would have laughed in my face. I had not even taken that things as ridiculous as that. I had not tried to do them. Some people are already making fun of me, So to even conceive of the fact that I could approach an area boy for petrol without money and get to believe that he will give me a 5-liter keg of petrol during a period of first scarcity, knowing he could sell it and make a lot more money. Come on, man. And he will not have to worry about somebody running away with his money. To even believe that I could go out and convince an area boy, that shows the level of faith I had. And I'm not religious. So we are spiritual beings. And you see, the area boys themselves were not far from being religious. And yet we connected. That is why I tell people all the time, religion is a subset of spirituality. Spirituality is superior to religion. And if you understand how to practice spirituality devoid of religion, you will connect directly with the Creator in a manner that will baffle other people around you. And that's what I've successfully done over the years. And the results I'm getting in my life are proof that it works. So what I'm trying to tell you in essence is this: you must be willing to take risks. You must be willing to persist and have faith. And you must be willing to keep thinking of alternative ways to get what you want, even when you encounter adversity repeatedly. It is the key to succeeding in finding buyers for anything you want to do, and it's the key to succeeding in solving any problems you have. The story I just told you now just basically explains or demonstrates the kind of results you can get if you are willing to do what I've said. The question is, are you willing to do it? If you need any help making use of the ideas I've shared here, reach out to me. Remember, farm business is just business. It's just a matter of the fact that you are selling things that are related to farm. Other than that, it's still business. So whatever ideas I've shared with you here, it's just a matter of you sitting down now and doing some critical thinking and applying the principles to suit your needs as a farm business owner that's looking for buyers. All right? Yeah, like I said, if you need any help, reach out to me.